Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. It's been 5 months since Jason and I have been together. It feels like 5 years, but we're back for another season of Atlanta United, and the MLS portion of the season begins this weekend against a huge rival, Orlando City. It's going to be a very, very fun match on Saturday, and we look forward to previewing it for you, and as well as kind of going through everything else that's going on with the club right now. It's going to be a little bit of a different feel to the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff this year, but we're excited about it. Mike Conti, Jason Longshore, if you don't know us by now, we are the radio commentary team for Atlanta United. And Jason, like I said, it feels like it's been a while, but we finally made it now to the finish line, and we're going to have MLS matches starting this weekend.
Yeah, season 5, it's felt like a long wait for it, and with a new season, we get to do some new things. So those of you out there watching this, you're going to get to know our dogs first off because they like to chime in on the shows. But when you're out there watching and you have ideas about things you'd like to see us talk about, some segment ideas, some people you'd like to hear from around the club, please drop it in the comments. Let us know. We want to make this show for you guys out there. Get you ready for the upcoming weekend, but also, give you some stories that maybe you haven't heard enough of yet.
Sounds like Gwen is suggesting the Treat of the Week feature, so we might have to roll that in for next week.
She's looking for new sponsors, yes.
We'll start with bacon next week, so she'll be very excited about that. Okay, so this is going to be the first MLS match day for Atlanta United, but Atlanta United is already 2-0-0 in competitions because starting last Tuesday and then continuing a couple days ago in Kennesaw, they got a pair of 1-0 wins over Alajuelense to advance into the quarterfinal of the CONCACAF Champions League for the third straight year.
Yeah, it was a tough opponent in Alajuelense who hadn't lost in 25 straight in all competitions coming in. Easily the most difficult opponent Atlanta United's faced in CONCACAF Champions League round of 16 play. I think it was the toughest draw outside of getting Club Leon out of Mexico. But Atlanta handled it really well, and they had different challenges in each of the 45-minute segments. The first 45 down in Costa Rica, I thought Atlanta United controlled the play. Ezequiel Barco was very influential getting forward. It was that sequence from George Bello that gave Barco the opportunity to put Atlanta up 1-0. They rode that out, a man down after the Brad Kazan red card, bring it back home to Kennesaw. And then the first 45 in Kennesaw was difficult as Alajuelense sat back and tried to extend the game. Santi Sosa with a header off the inside of the post. It took a while, but Mike, we've talked about it all week. It never felt like Atlanta was really in danger of losing, and they get the late goal from Jurgen Damm to seal it.
Yeah, which is huge. And I know it's a pair of 1-0 wins. It's enough to go through. That's the big picture stuff. I think if you look at it statistically, and this isn't opinion stuff, it's just statistics. The statistics show you that the chance creation was there when it was 11v11. Atlanta United had match control over the two legs when it was 11v11. Those are the things that you're going to be encouraged by. You're not necessarily expecting everything to be perfect day one when you're playing with a new technical staff and a lot of new faces on this roster. I think, again, considering the goal was accomplished, which was to advance to the quarterfinal of the CONCACAF Champions League, from a chance creation standpoint, Jason, I felt like there was a lot of positive to take out of what we saw the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, the attack wasn't as productive as you want it to be. You want to get Joseph Martinez back in the flow, putting chances away. If it's not Joseph, you want to get Lisandro Lopez putting chances away. You're going to need some additional scoring support from Marcelino Moreno, who had 4 shots this week in the second leg. One of them forced to save. One was wide on a really nice first-time opportunity from a Jurgen Damm cross. Other 2 were high. You want him to convert. You want Ezequiel Barco to continue going to goal. You need Jurgen Damm to go to goal. You want to get Bello and Lennon involved. You want to continue to flesh that out. But the chances are coming. I think the way this team plays is starting to build. And what you have already is a very strong foundation defensively. 180 minutes, no goals conceded, even with a reserve goalkeeper who will be playing with Atlanta United 2 this season. In the majority of those minutes, the back line was excellent, but also want to get into a player, Santiago Sosa, who played 2 different roles in these 2 matches. He played in the back line in Costa Rica as a third center back. He played as a holding midfielder in Kennesaw in Leg 2, and he was outstanding in both.
Jason, what do you always say about you want your spine of the team to be really solid? You look at the spine of Atlanta United in 2021, Brad Guzan, Miles Robinson, Anton Walks as the center back in the Alajuelense tie, and Santiago Sosa as that holding midfielder who's going to be so crucial in the Heinze system, isn't he?
Yeah, he's critical because he gives you that flexibility to be a center back, to be a holding midfielder, but also when the game calls for it, he can get involved on set pieces as we see in this one. He was very good in the air throughout the series, and he can step forward and carry the ball forward and really be a pace setter for this attack. I think a lot of fans are loving what they're seeing out of Santiago Sosa so far. Just remember, he's still young as a professional. He only had a little bit over 20 games played with River Plate before coming here. The good thing is, 7 of those were in the Copa Libertadores. So he was tested in international competition. He will be essential to Atlanta United in the next round of CONCACAF, where they're going to face the Philadelphia Union, but also in league play starting this weekend against Orlando.
I know that holding midfielders, they don't typically score a lot of goals. Sometimes they do things that don't show up in box scores. But when you talk about a potential MLS newcomer of the year, I think a lot of people have been very, very impressed with what they have seen out of Santiago Sosa so far this year. Well, one of the great things that we're going to be able to do this year on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff is visit with some of your favorite recognizable faces from the club and some people who you might be meeting for the first time. Well, this week we're going to get started with Atlanta United's technical director and a visit with Carlos Bocanegra. Carlos, you've talked a lot about the profile of an Atlanta United player. How difficult has it been, still during a pandemic, to go out and find players who fit the club's profile?
Yeah, Mike. So, look, it's what happens a lot of time is there's platforms that we watch games on, Y-Scout and what have you, that you can see the players, you identify them, you watch trends, tendencies, and your due diligence, so to speak. And then usually at the final stages, we like to go out and see the guy in person, see how he warms up. What are his tendencies off the ball? Because, the panoramic camera only gives you so much of a view in a game, or the broadcast shot when you don't get the panoramic shot. So as a central defender, how is he organizing the team when the ball is completely out of the picture? So those things you can't see in person. You can't see on video, you need to see in person. If he gets subbed off, how does he interact with his teammates coming off, the coach? What does he do with the fans? So there are so many little details that you can't catch just on camera. So you've got to try other ways. You've got to try and make calls. You've got to try to find out players who have played with that player, coaches that coached against them. So different things like that. So we've had to be creative. And you never know. You don't get that feeling of what the games are like in person. So, trying to watch more games, different competitions, international competitions with the national team in their league play. It's made us try and be a little bit more creative instead of being able to go watch them live and in some cases even get to meet the player.
How much is that profile of what an Atlanta United player is? How much has that changed from year one to now?
It hasn't changed too much, Jason. It's the thought that we need players that can play at a high tempo, that can be good in transition both ways. You saw it that first year where we had the Miggy, Tito, Joseph, everybody on the team was just flying up and down, for the first few years. And then we brought in players like Jake, like Jurgen, Bello, profile out of the academy of a left back, up and down the wing. That profile has not really changed. Now you adjust it a little bit for each coach, and you have to work together and make sure that we don't only look for fast players. I don't want to say that, right? But definitely you have those conversations with the head coach, and what is he trying to implement? What do you see out of the players? And so Santiago Sosa was a really good one. He fit the profile of player we were looking to have. Coach obviously really liked him as well, and so we discussed the little nuances, what he's looking to get out of that exact position on the field in his setup. And it said, okay, does that match up with the Atlanta United player profile and what our philosophy is long term here? Does that match up with the coach's philosophy and what he's looking to implement with his tactics and how he wants to set up the team and play? Yes. Okay, boom, let's go for him. So that's kind of a 30,000 foot level conversation of how it goes.
Everything we've heard from the guys, Carlos, is that training camp was very intense. And I'm wondering, from your perspective, has it been intense from a fitness standpoint, an informational standpoint, or both?
I think a little bit of both, Mike. And I think this year was interesting. So we decided not to go anywhere. We were unsure with COVID how we could travel, what that was going to look like, where teams would be. So we decided to stay in Atlanta. And I think that is also something different. We always go away for a week or two and you have a change of pace, change of scenery. So, I think when you're here for 30, 40, 50 days straight, it becomes, intense and there's no change, a little bit of Groundhog Day, not in a bad way, but just that's how it is. So for the staff and players included, but it's been intense from an informational standpoint, the attention to detail, definitely from fitness. And I do need to give the guys big credit. They were all here by the end of January on their own, voluntarily putting in a shift. And I think that paid off a lot. When you saw our first game away, we go down 10 men. They had to hang on and battle, fought through that. Second game again, getting that 90 minutes under our belt. It wasn't pretty, but we got the job done. We were fit enough to get through it. And then you look at the other teams in Champions League, the Torontos, the Phillies, the Columbus, who am I missing? Whoever else, Portland. With this extended sort of preseason, teams are able to come in fit to this tournament. I think that's really benefiting the MLS in general. And I hope that's something we can look at as a league that, hey, we do have quite a long off season. Maybe there's a possibility to get more than just 6 weeks for the players to get in and get a little bit more of a base of fitness and still figure out the downtime and the off days for these guys to recover. But that base of fitness has really helped us before training camp started.
I've got a couple for you, Carlos, and I want to start with Champions League. And Atlanta United gets to the quarterfinals, third year in a row. Looks like it will be 5 of 5 for MLS going into the quarterfinals. Does it feel like to you maybe the balance of power is a little more equal between MLS and Liga MX?
I think we're improving each year, Jason. I think this is an odd year, right? Because with COVID and transfers and ingoing and outgoing and clubs around the world hit differently financially. So I think there's definitely kind of that, whoa, this is a bit of a pause year, so to speak. The challenge we're always going to have facing the Liga MX teams later on in the rounds, the big boys, the Monterreys, Americas, and Tigre, is just that threshold of what we can pay players and what we can pay for transfers to bring them in. So you look at a player like Johan Vasquez, who played for Mexico in the under-23s. He's on loan from Monterrey to Pumas as a central defender, and he's a designated player in our league, right? So he's on loan for them just because he's in their pipeline to come on and come in next. And so that's always going to be a challenge. It doesn't mean we're not closing the gap, and it doesn't mean we're not getting closer. So I do think we're getting more competitive. I think it's great. The more we can play the Mexican teams, I think the fans like it. It's been entertaining watching the other games on TV personally for myself in Champions League. I love watching when the American teams play, the Mexican teams, great storylines, right? The countries are so close together, so intertwined. So there's so much around that. So hopefully we can build on it, but it's been a good Champions League so far. It was just the first round, so we need to keep going, right?
You mentioned the grinding in that first leg, especially against Alajuelense, playing a man down. And a player who stood out to me in that side of things was George Bello. George Bello coming from the academy, he had a tough matchup, especially in the second leg as well. How rewarding is it for you to see, somebody like George with that full progression, academy day one when the club starts, all the way through, starring in CONCACAF Champions League?
It's pretty cool. I mean, our academy has been a real bright spot for us. We started it 6 months ahead of us kicking our first ball for the first team, as you guys are well aware. And that's been something that we really dedicated ourselves to. So, I'll talk about George in a second, but we've had 10 plus kids get Division I scholarships out of our oldest age group every year as well. So it's cool. It's a great piece for the community. It's great, for I think the storylines when you're talking about, it's not only the pro pathway where George has been able to excel, and then you look at that where George has been able to be in the academy, train with the USL, play with the USL, which is fantastic. Get opportunities with the first team. And he's taken it. And now, look, he's still got a ways to grow, right? He's still a young player. He's still only got 20-some games under his belt as a professional. So he still has room to grow, and he still needs to keep improving and keeping his head on straight. But it's great. It's great for us to have someone from that kind of first academy, when we first started, and then now seeing him play on the weekends and hopefully in front of 70,000 at Mercedes-Benz very soon.
Carlos, it's great visiting with you, and I hope we get a chance to do this again later in the season. Thank you so much for your perspective today.
Thanks, guys.
One of the other great things about this new format with the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, we're going to have a chance to check in with the Proving Ground, because what's happening in Atlanta United's academy and what's happening with ATL UTD2 is going to be really, really crucial for the first team to have success this year. And boy, did we see that already, Jason, in these first two legs against Alajuelense. The play in particular of an academy graduate, George Bello, and someone who's probably going to be with the Twos quite a bit this year in Rocco Rios Novo.
Yeah, let's start with Bello. I mean, he's the prime example of why there was an investment in the academy even before the first team launched, why there was an investment in Atlanta United too, because you have to give these guys places to play, to grow. And George Bello was able to come in back in 2018 and score in MLS against the New England Revolution, but he's parlayed that into time with the national team at the youth level. He's parlayed that into a lot of attention nationally about what he's bringing to the table. And Mike, I feel like we talked about it a lot last season. George Bello's development as a complete player. We knew he could go forward, but defensively and getting stuck in and winning tackles, those are things that we didn't associate with George Bello at the very beginning of his run here in Atlanta. You don't develop that if you don't get the time to build that foundation in the academy and then play matches with the Twos and play grown men and get tested against really difficult competition. That prepares you even better for the first team when you get the call.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And George continues to pass all of these tests. And I feel like the baseline of fitness that he probably got starting with the academy and then working his way up, you really saw that last Tuesday, or this most recent Tuesday, didn't you? Where George really had to kind of dig deep after 60 minutes. Alajuelense was really running at him a lot. George had to put a lot of work in. And for him to see that match all the way out, I was very, very impressed by that. So a real testament to the baseline of fitness that he's been getting over the last couple years with Atlanta United. Rocco Rios Novo, I think, was the real revelation, though. And you didn't really expect Brad Guzan to be sent off with the first half red card in the leg down in Costa Rica. But boy, this 18-year-old Rocco Rios Novo was just so composed in a very unusual spot.
Yeah, tested a lot down in Costa Rica. Not so much at Kennesaw. His defense really allowed him to just rest a little bit, but he was involved in the build-up play a lot in Kennesaw. The composure we're seeing from him, he's going to be a player that I think a lot of people will be watching Atlanta United to this season to watch that development. He's on loan from Lanús, and when you bring a player in, there's always that opportunity that they impress and they stick around, and in his case, earn that opportunity to go full-time into the MLS side. What we've seen so far is a great start to his Atlanta career. This is coming after time with the Argentine youth national teams. Luckily, he would not take an international slot. He was born in Los Angeles, so he's a U.S. citizen. It really checks all the boxes for the type of young players you're looking for. You're going to get a lot of guys who come all the way through like George Bello did, academy, twos, first team. But you're going to see some guys come straight into the twos now that scouting network is very broad for Atlanta United. And this year especially, You've got a number of players who are young internationals, either signed to the Atlanta United 2 side or joining the team on loan with an opportunity to impress. I know that the 2's games in the USL Championship are, kind of a whole different thing for a lot of folks. It's not like AAA baseball. It's a little bit different mentality. And I think this year especially, it will be treated a lot more like a reserve team with guys who are trying to impress their way up to the first team, but also some first-team players, as this is a huge roster and a crowded roster, who are going to need to stay sharp. Those games with the 2's will give you a lot of glimpses to what you're going to see with the first team either later this year or in the coming years.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's a glimpse into the future while enjoying the present. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this weekend opens the 26th season of Major League Soccer. We hope this is going to go a lot more smoothly than the 25th season of Major League Soccer. Some really intriguing fixtures to begin the season. And remember, a result in the first week is just as valuable as a result in the 34th week. So let's dig into some of these fixtures in particular. I think one match, Jason, that I really have my eye on for a couple different reasons is going to be Columbus and Philadelphia. Not only the MLS Cup champion against the Supporter Shield winner, but also I'm going to be watching Philadelphia very closely over the next 2 weeks because Atlanta United suddenly now is going to be playing Philadelphia Union in the CONCACAF Champions League.
Yeah, these are two teams in my mind that could be at the top of the Eastern Conference when all is said and done. You're looking at the Columbus Crew, who are the defending champions. They won MLS Cup at home in a commanding fashion last year against Seattle, who might be talking about them as we go in the Around the League segment. Seattle's got some question marks with Jordan Morris's long-term injury and some changes to the way they're going to play. Columbus got better in the offseason. They added a lot of talent to pretty much bringing everybody back. Now, Philadelphia lost a few big faces in Mark McKenzie and Brendan Aronson. But what we've seen so far in CONCACAF Champions League against Saprissa, now a little bit weaker opponent than Alajuelense, but Philadelphia has looked like they haven't lost a step. Jose Martinez is going to be a problem in this league in that holding midfield. Feels like one of the great new defensive midfielders in this league to follow. Andre Blake, we know he's one of the best goalkeepers. We know he's a guy who can carry you. But I want to get into another game, too, that is maybe under the radar a bit, Miami and the LA Galaxy. We have a lot of questions about both of these teams. Miami has some questions about their roster that will get answered before the game kicks off, which I'm curious to see how they manage it. But the LA Galaxy have the questions about Chicharito. He didn't really do much last year. Now, he had some injuries, but there's a lot of pressure on him this season. He has talked about he's not done with the Mexican national team, but you look at the players ahead of him right now, and one in this league, in Alan Pulido. Chicharito has to perform at the level that we expected from him coming into the league. He's got to be that focal point for them, and he's got to be, I think, the guy that we're talking about as a potential MVP candidate for the LA Galaxy. I don't know if he's going to be that because I don't know if he's got the players around him. Miami, the other side, Gonzalo Higuain's got to be that guy. But is he going to get enough service? That game kind of, countered with Columbus, Philadelphia, two of the best teams in the East. Miami and LA are two teams that might miss out on the playoffs. Those are two clubs not built to be missing the playoffs on a regular basis.
No, I agree. I think it's intriguing because they're two very ambitious clubs that, unfortunately for them, didn't really meet the lofty expectations that they had for themselves in 2020. So that's part of a full slate of matches this weekend, many of them on national television. So check your local listings on all of that. As far as Saturday is concerned, now remember, Atlanta United's going to have some outdoor watch parties. So if you want to watch with your fellow 17s, that is possible. You can do that in a safe and socially distanced manner. So keep an eye out for that Saturday at a couple different locations in Metro Atlanta. You'll have the ability to participate in the March to Soccer, which, of course, all leads up to a week from Saturday with Chicago Fire coming into Mercedes-Benz Stadium for an 8 p.m. kickoff. And we're very, very excited for that. So let's talk a little bit now, Jason, about this matchup against Orlando City. Two opponents very familiar with each other. Obviously, they played 4 times last year. Orlando City did not lose in any of the 4. There were a couple draws. In fact, Atlanta United had a couple hard-earned draws against Orlando City last year. But there's one big difference between the way things unfolded last year and what could potentially happen this weekend, and that is Orlando City's father is back.
Joseph Martinez is back, and he has made it known to Orlando that he is back. Will he start? It's a big question mark. I don't know. We saw him start in Kennesaw. He did not start the first leg of the Alajuelense series. Does he get the start on Saturday? I don't know if that's a guarantee right now. You're thinking big picture with Joseph Martinez. You want to get him going, and you want him to play as much as he can, but you've also got to manage from now through 34 games and a CONCACAF run, and if you start out hot, maybe an Open Cup run as well. You've got a lot of games to come. You want Joseph at his best at the end of the season. Atlanta and Orlando last year played some really competitive, scrappy games that you would assume. It was the first time Orlando had some success against Atlanta. They're a different club, and we got glimpses of that last year with their run in the postseason. They don't have Daryl Dike, who is still on loan in England with Barnsley. I don't know if he's going to make it back to MLS. The interest in him is off the charts. But they do have a lot of talent. Alexandre Pato up top, the legendary Brazilian, replaces Dike in the lineup. You have a lot of options out wide. Chris Mueller has been an up-and-coming talent getting his way into the U.S. national team. He's going to be pushed for playing time by Alexander Alvarado and Vanderwater, the new Dutch winger. He's going to have a lot to do here. I'm curious as to what Orlando's lineup is going to be. It's game one, and we always come into this kind of wondering who we're going to see on the field in these lineups. Both teams have some serious questions as to what the 11 will be as we get started.
Okay, so now some predictions. Okay, we're going to have some fun this year. We're not going to write these down and keep track, are we?
The people will. You know they will.
Okay, well, if the people want to, they can. I'm not unless I start doing really well on this.
Oh, that's not fair. That's not how this goes.
Now listen, here is how it's going to go. Jason and I both believe, because we are providing a live description of the match on the radio, that ethically it would not be appropriate for us to predict a score line. So we're not going to do that, but we're going to maybe predict certain elements of what might happen in this match at Orlando.
Okay.
Do you want me to start?
Yeah. I want your first one.
We haven't rehearsed this.
No, not at all. This could go anywhere.
We might have the same prediction. I believe, Jason, Santiago Sosa is going to have an assist.
Okay.
Now again, for a holding midfielder to be involved in the build-up to the point of providing an assist might be a little difficult, but I'm going to say a hockey assist will count. So I'm going to go with Santiago Sosa having an assist. If I were 100% confident that Jürgen Damm were starting in this match, I'd say Jürgen Damm would have an assist. But I don't know. Jake Mulroney has been in the starting lineup. Jürgen Damm came on Tuesday against Alajuelense as a substitute. So I'm not fully confident where he's going to be in the lineup, where I'm certain that Santiago Sosa is going to start. I think he's going to provide a ball that's going to produce a goal for Atlanta United.
Okay. I will see that one, and I will go with Marcelino Moreno with a goal or an assist.
Okay.
I think Moreno out on the left against Juan. We know Juan has the speed, but we also know he likes to get forward. And this is going to be an early test of the way that Gabriel Heinze is preparing his team. You will see the wingers stay really wide in the early phases of the build-up. And if you take advantage of Juan bombing down that right side, turn it over, and Marcelino Moreno hugs that touchline, stretching the field out wide to the left, he's going to create problems. And I think getting that 90 minutes under his belt against Alajuelense on Tuesday will help him either find the back of the net or create a goal for somebody else. Moreno is one of the big keys for me in this match.
All right, if you're looking for the match on Saturday, 3:20 will be the kickoff time. It'll be on Unimas. It'll be on TUDN. It'll be streamed over Twitter. And Jason and I will have the radio commentary on Sports Radio 92.9, the game in Atlanta. Also on the Odyssey app, and the Atlanta United app, with coverage starting at 2:30 Eastern time on Saturday. As for the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff, look for us on YouTube every week at this time. We'll have previews of every match as the MLS season goes on. We'll visit with special guests. We want to thank Carlos Bocanegra for joining us today. And we'll continue to analyze and watch the evolution of this 2021 Atlanta United season. We think it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're really excited to see you in person as the season goes along this year. So thank you for joining us on the AT&T Countdown to Kickoff. Vamos, vamos, ATL, and we'll hope for 3 points at Orlando City.